try for this vlog to not be long. This is going to be just one standalone vlog because I posted on Instagram and Snapchat that I was going to give my opinion of this book that I finished reading a few days ago. I've had the actual book for almost 4 years, either 3 or 4, but I'm not a reader. I just like buying celebrity books. So I had not even opened the book. It's been sitting on my coffee table now for the last few months, and before that I just had it somewhere, but I never opened it. But I really wanted it when it came out. But I decided to start listening to audiobooks, and it was the first one, and I finished it a few days ago. And I wanted to give a review on it because if you know me, you know that I love Prince. I'm a huge Purple fan. After he died, his ex-wife, Mayte Garcia, made a book about her time with him. And this is the book. It is called The Most Beautiful, My Life with Prince. And I finished listening to it on audio books. It's right here, if it'll focus. I finished it a few days ago, and I wanted to give my opinion on the book and my opinion on, well, not my opinion on the book so much, but my opinion on Prince from Mayte's time with him, and my opinion on Mayte in reference to her time with Prince. So I definitely want to say my outlook on Prince changed from hearing this book, because based off of how she said that he was as a friend, and then a boyfriend, and then a fiance, and then a husband, there are some things that I now don't like about him that I didn't know before. And you can't really know because we don't know celebrities on a personal level. We know them on a surface level, and they don't really show us their bad sides. So we only really know their fake sides, their good sides, but we don't really know them on a personal level. But when you hear the story of somebody who did know them on a personal level, you get a glimpse into some of that person's ways and how they were to some extent. My outlook on Prince has definitely changed since I listened to the audiobook of this book. First of all, and the biggest thing for me, is he was a little bit of a pedophile, in my opinion. And he definitely can go in the category with R. Kelly and Michael Jackson and all of these other grown-ass men that have inappropriate relationships with children. And I say that because even though she claims that they never had sex or were in any type of real relationship until she was 18, and she met him when she was 16, even if that's true, there were still things that were very inappropriate. She talked about how they would be on the phone for hours, how he would call her pretty much every day or almost every day, how she would be alone with him. She's 16 and 17 years old. She's on the phone for hours with a almost 30-year-old man. I think he was 27 when she met him at 16. This is an almost 30-year-old man, and he is sitting on the phone for hours with a 16-year-old. She is alone with a almost 30-year-old man in hotel rooms and at Paisley Park. That's pedophile behavior. That's so inappropriate. And her parents were really no different than the parents of R. Kelly's victims. They sold Mayte to Prince and didn't care that what they were doing as parents was not right, and what he was doing as a full grown, almost 30-year-old man was inappropriate. There is no way in hell that me as a parent, my son is about to be 17 in a couple weeks, that I'm gonna let him be alone with a grown-ass woman, be on the phone for hours with a grown-ass woman, be alone, period, with a grown-ass woman, and I am not there. That's so inappropriate. That is pedophile behavior. But they did what they had to do so that she could become famous, so that she could get into the entertainment business via Prince. Her mom went out of her way to make sure Prince got videotapes of Mayte dancing, because she felt like Mayte was meant to be in the limelight on a big stage. You sold your daughter to this damn near 30-year-old man, and she is 16 years old. That is pedophile behavior. And as a parent of a minor, your 16-year-old can't sit on the phone for hours unless you allow it. They're a minor. They're not grown. And you're paying the phone bill. And mind you, they're in different countries a lot of this time, racking up a high-ass phone bill. I mean, Mayte says she was making her own money, but as a minor, you're not in control of the money. Your parents are. It still can't happen unless they allow it, and they're the adults. You're a kid. You know, like, it just was so inappropriate. To me, he was a little bit of a pedophile, and it was inappropriate. And he even said, according to her, he said, and I think he even said it a few times in interviews, that he knew that she was going to be his wife the minute that he met her. So you, as a 27-year-old man, know that a 16-year-old girl is going to be your wife? That's pedophile behavior. It's inappropriate. You shouldn't even be looking at a 16-year-old like that. That's first of all. Second of all, he's very controlling. And very controlling from the moment that they met. It was a very one-way street with him, according to Mayte. When they first met, up until when they started dating, she couldn't call him. He had to call her. She had to sit by the phone, and she said she would sit by the phone and wait for him to call her. She could never call him. He was in control of everything. And that I don't like. I don't like the thought of a man thinking that he can control a woman, especially because he is Prince. Like, she has no say-so. If you hear that, that's watching Grey's Anatomy on my MacBook Pro. So if you hear that, I'm sorry. That just didn't sit well with me, that he ran her and she allowed it. He ran every woman that he dealt with, according to Mayte. If they weren't playing by his rules, they were out. And according to her, he would go from woman to woman to woman and cheat and all this and that. And he controlled everything. He controlled everybody around him, everybody that worked for him. She said something about somebody said something and they got docked money. Like, they got docked out of their pay by him. And how she was afraid to say anything because she thought her pay would get docked, and how she was starving and didn't have enough money to pay her bills because he wasn't paying her enough money, and how she was making more money before she started working for him than after she started working for him, and how she finally got sick of it and lost it and told him she wasn't eating and didn't have enough money to pay her bills, and then he upped everybody's pay, but only because she said something. But she was scared to say something for a long time. Who wants to work for somebody like that, that they're afraid to stand up and say, look, you're not paying me enough money? And especially in a situation where they're traveling from country to country, they're on the road all the time, but they can't pay their bills when they are home. They don't have enough money to eat. and you're afraid to say something because you think you're gonna get fired, or you think your pay's gonna get docked. Like, that's unacceptable. Like, he was very controlling. Even with how she said that they started having sex, he told her, I think it's time for you to get on birth control. This is after she turned 18. But the way that he did that, instead of it just happening organically, naturally. And how do you tell a woman that she needs to get on birth control? That's not your body, it's her body. How you know she even wants to get on birth control? You know what I'm saying? Like, he was just so fucking controlling. Like, she talked about how when she moved in with him and when they got married, he changed the inside of Paisley Park without talking to her about it. But even though it was his house, but when y'all decide to live together or get married, it's not your house, it's both of your home. Changing of paints and furniture and all that is supposed to be you do it together. But he did it and she just walked in and saw it. Like, he didn't tell her at all. Like, he just was so controlling, and to me seemed like he didn't treat people right. And everybody walked on eggshells around him and was scared to say anything because people would get fired or wouldn't get paid right, you know. Just, that's second of all, overly controlling, and used his I'm Prince, so you're gonna kiss my ass or you can be replaced. Even when she was pregnant and doctors were telling her, because they found out while she was pregnant that it was something wrong with the baby, and he wouldn't allow doctors to do what they wanted to do to try to help because it went against what he believed. But it's her body, essentially. Yeah, it's both of y'all's baby, but at the end of the day, the woman is really the one that's in control. She can have an abortion if she wants to. She is in control of what happens to that baby while that baby is in her body, period. But she was so afraid of him, clearly. Even when the doctor said we need to do X, Y, and Z, he wouldn't let her do it, and she would let this man control her. He just was too controlling to me. If I'm looking over, I'm looking at the book. My perspective on Prince has definitely changed. And like, even when they got a divorce, which I don't know why she didn't take her baby's ashes with her, but she left them at Paisley Park, and he got rid of everything that had to do with Mayte. And apparently that was his own son's ashes. He got rid of the ashes. I don't think that she even knows where they are. Instead of them having a talk and figuring out who's going to keep them, and he could have gave her the ashes. If he wanted to get rid of everything that had to do with her, he could have gave her the ashes. And when she went back after he died, she found out that the ashes were gone. Like, he just, I don't think that he was a good person in a lot of ways. And it's so crazy because I always looked at him as like this shy but outspoken on stage, and with his music and his sexuality and how he dressed, but quiet in real life and down to earth in real life. And now I'm just like, no, he was a controlling asshole, a controlling, womanizing asshole, and held his power over people's head and held who he was over people's head and used who he was to mistreat people. He was a musical genius, but he was not a good person in a lot of ways. And as far as Mayte goes, she was weak, very weak. To allow a man to control her for all those years, she was a weak ass woman. And I think even now in death, he controls her mind a lot. The fact that she is still so wrapped up in his world, instead of they got divorced and he died, and her being like, but this man didn't treat me good. He controlled me no more. She's still allowing him to control her even in death. I do think, though, that their love story was beautiful. I think regardless of how inappropriate it was, I do believe in love at first sight, and I do believe in when you know, you know. And you clearly can't control if you meet somebody and you're 16 and they're 27. You can't control that, and you can't control how you feel about them or about each other. And the fact that he waited for her, even though he had women during this time, which, you know, it makes sense, they weren't together, she was a minor, but he waited for her. If you look at them in interviews and she was in his videos, you can definitely tell that they were in love with each other and that they had something beautiful. But how he treated her, to me, overshadows that now in my eyes. But I do think it was a beautiful love story. I think it was also tragic. And I've heard this before, though, that when parents lose a kid, and they lost 2 kids, not 1 but 2. The first one she carried to term, he died a week after he was born. And the second one, she had a miscarriage. But I've heard that a lot of couples can't come back from that. And I understand that. But how he treated her after she lost the second baby wasn't right. And he was already starting something with his second wife while he was still very much married to Mayte, and giving her the cold shoulder because now he got this new thing right here. And Mayte knew it was something going on with the woman that became his second wife, but she was still trying to make it work with Prince. But how he did her, he didn't have to do her, but it seems like that's how he did women. 1 minute you're in, 1 minute you're out. And she said that in the audio of the book, that the same way she saw other women going out when she came in, she went out the same way they did in the end. But he would treat these women wrong instead of being an adult and ending it the right way. He would just cold shoulder them, like how he did Carmen Electra when he was done with her. She was on the tour 1 minute, and the next night she wasn't on the tour, and that was the end of their whatever, fleeing. I don't think it was a relationship, but whatever it was over just like that. Like, that's not how you treat somebody. You be an adult and you sit down and you talk to them and you end it like an adult. And for Mayte to have been the love of your life and the one you waited for since she was 16, you waited 2 years, and y'all were together for 10 years. Well, it was 10 years from the time they met when she was 16 until when they got their divorce. And you said she was the love of your life. How do you treat her like that in the end? She should have been different than the rest. But, you know, again, he was just an asshole. He couldn't see past himself to care enough how he treated even the woman that he claimed was the love of his life. But I do think that their story was beautiful in how it started and throughout, to some extent. He just was a controlling, had some pedophile ways asshole. But in all, I enjoyed the book through audio. I would recommend, if you have not read this book or heard it on audio, I would say get it. I got it on Amazon. I will leave the link below. And like I said, it is on Audible. I got it for free on Audible because you get 1 credit a month, and that's how I got it. But I wanted to give a review of it, my opinion of Prince and Mayte after this, but I still enjoyed it. And for me, this is the only way I'm gonna read a book, is through Audible. I'm just not a reader, and there are more books that I have in the physical form that I am going to listen to on Audible. So when I finish those, I would do the same thing. But now I'm on a biography of Elizabeth Taylor that I'm listening to on Audible. I've been listening to it for like 4 days or something like that, and it's probably gonna take me 2 more weeks to finish it because the chapters are so fucking long. Like, it took me about 4 days to listen to this one because the chapters were no longer than like 35 minutes. But the chapters of this Elizabeth Taylor, some are over an hour, some are over 50 minutes, some are over 40 minutes. So this was the first one. The next one will be either I have Jessica Simpson book that will either be the next, or J-Lo book. I wanted it to be Selena, To Selena with Love, from her husband Chris Perez, but that's not on Audible. I did actually start reading that book and J-Lo book and Jessica Simpson, but I only got through a few chapters and I never went back because I'm just not a reader. I'm not sure which one I'll do next on Audible, either Jessica Simpson or J-Lo. My next credit is next week I believe. So I'm not sure which one I'll get, but it'll be one of those. So but I'm not gonna start listening to it until I get done with the Elizabeth Taylor. I'm doing one at a time. I'm not gonna overwhelm myself, and I want to just enjoy the one that I'm on. Whenever I get done with Elizabeth Taylor, it'll be either the J-Lo book or the Jessica Simpson. I'm not sure. That is my take on Mayte Garcia, The Most Beautiful, My Life with Prince, and I would highly recommend getting this read. It is amazing. And there are pictures in the book also, which I just looked at this for the first time a couple weeks ago. Like I said, I never opened the book, and there's only one picture of her pregnant. She said that that's the only picture that she kept from her pregnancy. He got rid of all the rest of them, but it is this picture here, and there are some more pictures. I would highly recommend. I still love Prince, don't get me wrong, but just, you know, my outlook on him has changed, and I know that he's not the only person in the business that's like that, and men in general are like that, a lot of them. It's just unfortunate, you know, when you've looked at somebody this way over here for all these years and now you look at them this way. It's just a little discouraging, but it is what it is. I would highly recommend. I hope that you enjoyed this book review outlook. Like always, don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.